There is a way to turn back time in this game so that you can cook an earlier meal. And it's very useful. This might change the way you play the game from now on. Welcome back to another Pokemon Sleep video, it's Bro Vinny here. Today we are talking about how I can change dinner to lunch or breakfast or even dinner of the previous day if I hypothetically had missed all of those meals. And just for testing purposes, I started a new account and I was able to cook 4 meals in a row within a span of 10 minutes. I was able to cook last night's dinner, this morning's breakfast, lunch, and today's dinner all at once. I will show you guys how I did it, but let's talk about what this might actually mean. For starters, if you accidentally missed the meal, or, for example, because of maintenance, that can go for several hours, had forced you to miss a meal, there is a possibility that by doing this, you can go back and cook the missed meal and end up not losing out on any strength at all. This method could also work for you to cook the next meal so that you get a higher Snorlax strength before you start your tracked sleep session. And we could potentially get the end of week bonus on 4 meals on Sunday, which I've talked about in this video. But in this video, you had to wake up at 4 AM in the morning in order to achieve this. And the reason why this works to get 4 meals with the end of week bonus is because you wake up at the period between where the day rolls over to Sunday, but before the meal rolls over to breakfast. So between 4 AM to 6 AM. But with this method, you could turn back time without actually being awake at 4 AM and cook 4 meals on Sunday. The only thing I haven't tested though is whether the game will allow you to make a meal where you technically were sleeping. And this method could potentially fix the drowsy power 1 hour difference bug. And in this video, we talked about how if you use the PokeGo++, a lot of the times when you do your sleep research in the morning, it uses your Snorlax strength an hour before you actually went to sleep. Now this one here is a pre-recorded video of how I did it, but if you're after the too long didn't read, basically you just gotta change your time zone to an earlier time zone. But do not change your time without changing the time zone. So if you're one of the players who play the game in either New Zealand or Australia, you're in luck, because you guys have the most number of time zones you can revert the game back to. Whereas for Americans and Hawaiians, you can really only fast forward the game, because by time zone, you guys are much further behind. So if you really wanted to use this method, you might need to permanently change your time zone to New Zealand to get the most benefits. However, if you're only off by 1 or 2 hours from the last meal, you might still be okay. So let's see how I did it. And I'm going to thank Polar Dude from my Discord for starting us on this research. Okay, so this is what I did. This is a brand new account, so I haven't ever cooked on this account at all. In fact, you'll see the tutorial for cooking in a moment. Now you'll see that currently I'm at dinner time. And just be aware, you can't, from my testing, you can't go back and cook earlier meals if you've already cooked the current meal. Then I went to my device settings to change the time zone. So I started on Australia. Then I turned off automatic time zone and I went back in time zones to the United States. And if you choose something like Honolulu, you go back a lot. And if you then go back to the app, you'll see that the app will tell you that there's been a time zone change. And that's a good thing. You want to see that scene. If you don't see that error, then you haven't done it right. In fact, what will happen is if you don't see this message, then you may have only changed the time on your phone without changing the time zone. Now, weirdly enough, the game will still show you that even though you're at dinner time, it will still have a visual change to tell you that you're cooking breakfast even though you're not. So you make sure you see this message for it to work. Now, the reason why it still says dinner is actually because I'm cooking the dinner from the day before. So I did actually turn back time. So in a moment, you're going to see me trying to cook breakfast. Now I'm just going to skip through the tutorial, but just to show you that cooking does work, here it is. And that's Snorlax strength added from the first meal. So then normally I would have to wait for the breakfast of the next day. But what I then did at this point is I changed my time zone again. So I changed the time zone that's a little bit later. So then I decided to go from Honolulu to Chicago, which was enough of a time difference for me to hit the breakfast of the next day. But you can choose whatever city you want, as long as the time correctly matches the meal that you need to cook. So here you'll see that I chose Chicago, and again you'll see this message. So I'm going to restart the game again. And immediately I was able to get breakfast to cook. And this was all within a span of 10 minutes. And just to show you again, it doesn't bug out, we get to cook again. And here it is, my breakfast, my second meal within 10 minutes. And then I did it again. I went for a European time zone, which is somewhere between New Zealand and America. So it's GMT plus 0 London time. Once again, we're going to go back to the app and we'll see the message. And you'll see that it's now lunchtime. So this here is my third meal now for Snorlax within 10 minutes. And then I changed to one of the earliest time zones in the world, New Zealand, Auckland. And once again, cooked. So this is my fourth meal, the dinner of the current day. And here it is, my fourth meal. And there you have it, guys. A way to change the meal that you cook for Snorlax, especially if you missed out on one. And it just occurred to me that if you just started the game, maybe you can cook 3 to 4 meals in one go too, and really power up that Snorlax. I've only done this on Android, so for those of you who are on iPhone, I'm not 100% sure what the setting will look like to you, but basically you just gotta change the time zone and make sure you see that error message. And while this method is still being tested under other circumstances, for example, will it work if you revert to a time that you were actually sleeping? Once we find these things out, I'll let you guys know in the comment section below. Thank you for watching, guys. If this video helped you, don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know in the comment section below whether it's working for you.